Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. There are some on our crew, in our community, who are experiencing COVID right now. There are some who are having surgeries. Keeping this in our heart, everyone relax your bodies, enjoy breathing, and donate your inner and outer strength to those who need this. Sarve santu niramayaha. May all be healthy inside and outside. Bhagavad Gita's chapter 8 is not teaching us about two paths, but rather three paths. In Sanskrit, this is called pantha, a path. The first is the atita pantha, the path that leads one to feel beyond any sort of dependence. Lower than this is the Surya Pantha, the path of the sun, and lower than this is the Chandra Pantha, path of the moon. Now that you've written this out, I will elaborate on this. That's from the orientation of a path. Let us orient ourselves using the gunas. The beyond path is living a life of sattva, quietness. This quietness eventually leads to silence. The sun path is living a life of rajas. One is living in a ritualistic way without being reminded of what those rituals are trying to guide us to purify, to know. And the moon path would be tamas. Not aggressiveness, but laziness. One lives as the body, for the body. Panta guna, I'll share this in one more way in terms of relationships. All of this analysis is for us to identify what path are we following. The beyond path is a lifestyle, is a vision that is dedicated to helping others. By helping others, you're really helping yourself. The sun path is a path where you are harming oneself. How so? when you know, and you do know, there's a beyond path, why would you follow the sun path? You are harming yourself by not making use of this opportunity. You know about Sadhya Mukti, why would you live for Krama Mukti? It's postponing happiness. That's harming oneself. And the moon path is harming others. Those who live for valuables, the primary entity they harm is the earth. Every valuable is processed earth. Is this orientation clear for everyone? So if I were to ask you, which path are you following, you would know more clearly how valuable knowing what road you are on is in our day-to-day affairs, roads, highways, and so on. This is exponentially more important. In the last two verses, 24 and 25, Sri Krishna compares the sun path and the moon path. This teaching is for those who are not following the beyond path. And even for those who are following the beyond path, these teachings are to inspire us to follow more intensely. Some of the words he uses in these two verses. In 24, Agni. In 25, Dhuma. There's a focus on fire, there's a focus on smoke. Which is more valuable? Obviously, fire. In 24, Jyoti. In 25, Chandramasam. The light from the sun is more valuable than the light from the moon. In 24, Aha. In 25, Ratri. Daytime is more valuable than nighttime because you can create in the daytime. You can evolve. You can't create or evolve when you're sleeping. In 24, Shukla. In 25, Krishna. This is in reference to the waxing and waning of the moon. A full moon is much more beautiful than a no moon. And finally, Uttara and Dakshina. Uttara means to lift. Dakshina means to fall. So these are the words Sri Krishna uses. How amazing is this poetry? Sri Krishna is teaching this in a war. Such a teaching can only come from one who's divine, from one who's not afraid of what can happen in this war. In verse 26, Sri Krishna is specifying our responsibility, that we are responsible for following path 1, 2, or 3. We don't follow these paths by force. Shukla Krishne gati hyete jagata shashvate mate ekaya yatyana vrittim anyaya vartate punaha. Shukla, I just specified this word. This is the bright fortnight, the waxing. Krishna, the dark fortnight, the waning. Gati, paths, he, indeed, ete. There are these paths. That's the translation. If we come back to how the teachings of Bhagavad Gita began, Prince Arjuna shares with Sri Krishna, Bruhi tatme. Direct me to Shreya, we always have this inner question. Many of us have the sensitivity to feel that what we're doing is Preya. It's following the path of the moon, living for valuables. We feel this. And that's why we want to know about Shreya, that there is another way to live. So Shri Krishna is sharing there is another way to live, a life of values and beyond. Jagataha shashvate mate, these paths that are in the world, Jagata, they're known to be shashvata. That means they're known to be eternal. I'm going to read to you some insights from Pujya Swami Chinmayananda. These two paths described here in their general implications can be considered as showing the path of moksha and the path of samsara. The ways of life in any given generation always fall under two categories, the secular and the sacred. The former, the secular, is pursued by those who feel that food, clothing, and shelter are the absolutes, and the fulfillment of life lies in the satisfaction of the largest number of physical and emotional sense ticklers, and whose intellects are cold and satisfied, feeling no urge to seek anything nobler and diviner. The latter, the sacred, however, is pursued by those who can feel no encouragement in their bosom when the sense objects giggle and dance in front of their sense organs, and whose intellects are ever on fire with the great seeking of something beyond, something deeper than the mere surface existence in life. It's like Pujya Swami Chinmayananda can read our minds. And it's not like, he can. The way that Sri Krishna is reading Prince Arjuna's mind, Sri Krishna, Pujya Swami Chinmayananda are reading our minds. Ekaya yati anavrittim. One of these paths leads one to not return. Anyaya vartate punaha, and the other path leads one to return. The word shashwata does mean eternal. It is often used to describe infinity. Eternal, when not analyzed from an absolute perspective, is really about one's perspective, one's relationship with time. I live in a small city, and so there's no traffic. Are you all feeling bad that you live in big cities with traffic? You should. And so when I go to a big city like Toronto or Washington, D.C. or Boston, any sort of traffic feels shashwata to me. So much traffic, takes so long, correct? It's perspective. Here too, what is being shared is the path of the sun will lead one to the absolute eternal, will lead one to values and beyond. The path of the moon is eternal too, because you keep journeying and journeying and journeying. It feels like this journey never ends. Is that clear to everyone? Okay. This chapter is concluding now in these last few verses, my final reflection, the underlying message that Sri Krishna is offering Prince Arjuna and us is not to be deluded that magically our life is going to change to become happy. If someone feels that they are being deluded, they're living in delusion. You have a choice to follow the moon path, the sun path, the beyond path. The moon path, it will take forever to be independently joyous. The sun path, it will take forever to be independently joyous. Eventually one will be. The beyond path, there's no reference for space and time in reference to being independently joyous. That can be here. That can be now. Any person, even with a high IQ, not even EQ or SQ, would live for the beyond path, which is what Bhagavad Gita teaches, other than in this chapter. From inspiration to application, yesterday you were given a very personal application. How many of you tried? Wow. I didn't see any sharing on our website, but someone did share with me privately in the chat, which I appreciate your openness. We are starting a new podcast called Inspiring Voices. In this podcast, I interview people in the community and they interview me. Our first interview was between Sheila and I, my wife Sheila. And she had asked me, when is your ego out of control? See, she's using this podcast to expose me. And I answered in a very honest way. When I lack energy, that is physical energy, then that pulls down my enthusiasm. That's my mind, which then pulls down my empathy at an intellect level. Then I take matters personally and I make matters personal. So no energy, no enthusiasm, no empathy. And I know that is my weakness. And so I'm training myself. I'm trying to train myself to never lack energy so that I never lack enthusiasm or empathy. Not everyone has the same intention or even the training to be able to never feel physically depleted, mentally depleted, intellectually depleted. So I'm sharing with all of you, if you find that you take matters personally, it's for the same reasons I stated. So what should you do? Simplify. Simplify your lifestyle so you have more energy, more enthusiasm, more empathy. So many of us chant, Twameva Vidya, Dravinam Twameva. You know what that has to be changed to? Tava, not Twam, but Tava. Twam means you, Tava means yours. This is your knowledge, and this is your valuables. All of the valuables we have in our lives, those don't belong to us. When you feel this, when you act on this, then your knowledge that is right now with Sri Krishna will become ours. Did I connect all those dots for you? That leads to today's application. I want you to reflect on how many dollars you've earned in your life. Again, coming back to the valuables you have. And how much japa have you offered in your life? And if you have more dollars than japa, then most definitely you can say you're following the beyond path, the sun path. But this is a gauge overtly that you are following the moon path. And when will you be happy? It will take forever. So that's your reflection. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be joy.